Remember that health care bill President Obama and Congress got through a few months back? Tucked away in that bill was a new tax that goes into effect in just a few hours. The tanning tax somehow snuck into health care reform. You want more of a bronze glow? You need to get rid of some tan lines? Then you're going to pay an extra 10% to the federal government. In addition to that, the government's proposed several sin taxes. The federal government is reaching into parts of our lives they have never touched before. Matt, you were just talking about that. Yesterday, during her confirmation hearing, Supreme Court nominee Elena Kagan was asked if the government has the power to tell Americans what to eat. Her answer? She didn't have an answer. She refused to say that government can't tell us what to eat. So what's next? Has big government gotten too big in this country, Matt?
Oh, it's got too big a long time ago. I mean, surprise, surprise. There's a tax that nobody knew about in a bill that nobody read before the Democrats in Congress shoved it down the throats of an American public that didn't want it. We can expect to see more and more of this as Obamacare unfolds and the ugly details seep into our lives. As government is trying to organize us to do what it wants along its own social plan, it has to pay for it. And we can expect, and this is just the beginning, if they're going to tax us getting a tan, it's like the Beatles song Taxman. They're going to tax your shoes, tax you when you walk on the street. They're going to start taxing the air that we breathe. There's going to be no end to this, because when you make, I think as President Ford once said, a government big enough to give you everything you want is big enough to take away everything you have. And this is a glimpse of the future that the liberals in this country want to give us.
Well, listening to Matt, Leo, do you think we're losing our liberties?
Yes, and this is where I agree with Matt. Listen, here's the dirty secret about me. I'm a fiscal conservative, but a big-time social liberal. Somebody wants to get a tan. They call this a sin tax. Someone wants to get a tan. Someone wants to go out and have a cigarette. As long as it's legal, they should be entitled to. And this sin tax logic to make the government raise more money for health care, I agree with Matt on this. I don't like big government spending. I hate taxes. It makes no sense whatsoever. So to tell a person who lives in a country allegedly of freedom that they can't eat certain food, they can't do it, they can't go to a tanning salon, they can't do these things. I don't like infringement on people's right to do something. As long as it's legal, the government should keep its hands out of business and people's lives.
Well, it sounds to me, if you want to get a tan, maybe you think you have more money than somebody else. Maybe you think you're better than somebody else. Therefore, it's going to cost you more to do it. Doesn't that sound like socialism to you?
It is socialism. It
is.
They're taxing on unhealthy behavior, quote unquote. Next thing would be hamburgers and milkshakes and ice cream and beer.
All right. Let's wrap this up with something I think Leo's going to have something to say on. In this country, you're innocent until you're proven guilty by a jury of your peers. The court system is supposed to be somewhere where you get a fair trial. Apparently, sometimes just being pretty means not guilty. A recent Cornell study found that more attractive defendants are less likely to be found guilty than their relatively unattractive counterparts. Of course, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but juries are supposed to be fair and impartial. Okay, Leo, you're a man that stands in front of juries. Do you buy this?
In part, unfortunately, Fred, and the public, is true. However, it's not just looks, because if the jury does not like you, they are not going to rule in your favor. In part, it will play a factor. For example, a beautiful woman, if she comes across in a hostile, there's another word I could use, but I won't do it. It's a family show. If she comes across in a negative format, the jury can dislike her just because of how she approaches herself on the witness stand and on the jury stand. Women are harder on women. Women are harder on beautiful women or beautiful people. So there is a lot of subjective factors that have nothing to do with the facts that will play into a jury's mindset. Not necessarily beauty per se, but the way a person looks, act, and how they come across has a lot to do with the outcome of a jury verdict.
Well, Matt, according to this study, good-looking people get off more than people that aren't good-looking. Do you buy that?
I do. I mean, the study said it seemed to indicate that what they called experiential jurors, people who are less relying on